The icy breath of the subway stung Corinne's cheeks. Wrapped in a threadbare scarf, Corinne carried a new life, a fragile 4-month-old secret that made the morning rush especially draining. Her body, not yet showing, already had its own demands, craving sleep like a ravenous beast. In the concrete belly of the city, in the echoing din of thousands of hurried steps, existed a republic of the rejected, frozen in time. By the exit, like mournful statues, they stood, a silent tribunal of broken lives. Corinne knew them all by name. One-eyed Gus, the greying professor who smelled of dusty books and cheap port, and several other faceless shadows. She never passed them by. A hot coffee and a fresh pastry, her humble tribute to humanity, a fragile bridge across the chasm between her precarious life and their utter destitution. The flower vendors, their faces as bright and faded as their wares, clucked disapprovingly. Such a simpleton, one hissed. Barely able to stand on her own 2 feet, belly sticking out to here, and she's feeding these drunks, as if we don't know where her pennies go, straight down the hatch with cheap booze. They couldn't grasp that Corinne saw in these people not freeloaders, but a reflection of her own fear. She knew the taste of hunger, the sticky chill of loneliness, and the bone-deep draught of homelessness. She understood that alcohol, for them, wasn't a vice, but anesthesia from a reality of endless streams of people hurrying to warm homes where they were expected, but no one waited for them. Just like her. She gave her usual nod to her charges and froze. There was a newcomer among them. Young, perhaps 30, with a mop of tangled dark curls. He leaned on roughly made crutches, like a wounded knight. His gaze, fixed beyond the crowd, didn't ask, didn't beg. It simply existed, detached and proud. Beside him on the grimy concrete lay an old cap with a few coins. A sharp, unbearable pity pierced Corinne. Good heavens, and I complain. He's missing a leg, and in his eyes, a whole universe. On a sudden impulse, she bought a fluffy, steaming donut and a cup of scalding coffee from a nearby stall. Please take this. From the heart. He flinched, his eyes meeting hers, and Corinne drowned in their piercing blue. Gratitude and a wild embarrassment flooded his face with colour. Thank you, he whispered, immediately looking away. Not wanting to torment him, Corinne waved her hand and almost ran away, swept away by a wave of resurrected ghosts from the past. Her so-called family was just a collection of nightmarish images. A perpetually drunk mother, her face a blurry smear of rage. Fights that shook the thin walls. A constant gnawing hunger, answered not with food but with blows. A sticky table littered with empty bottles, among which one could sometimes find leftovers from a drunken feast. The greatest treasure, and the stench. The pervasive, ingrained smell of stale alcohol, cheap tobacco, and unwashed bodies. Her neighbour, Aunt Bernice, whose heart couldn't bear the sight of a 5-year-old girl wandering alone in the yard in freezing weather, gave her to the orphanage. No one ever looked for her. Aunt Bernice secretly fed the grimy little wild child and cried watching her devour pastry with a greedy fervour. When it became clear that no one would take this child to school, the woman's patience snapped. She called Child Protective Services. Corinne screamed, scratched, and called for her mother as they took her away. But her mother slept a dead sleep after another binge, oblivious to her daughter's disappearance. At the orphanage they cut her hair short, scrubbed her clean, and dressed her in clean regulation clothes. And a grey, monotonous life began. There they didn't beat her, but the strict discipline and meagre food were their own form of violence. Other girls were visited by relatives, bringing with them the smell of home, sweets, and toys. Only Aunt Bernice came to Corinne just once with a bag of caramels. Her mother never appeared. This hurt became the core around which her character developed, and she vowed her child would never know what it meant to be abandoned. She threw herself into her studies, especially mathematics, when numbers obeyed logic, unlike people. After graduation, the state allocated her a room in a dormitory, a wretched hovel with a rotting floor and a sagging couch. Together with a friend without much hope, she applied to the university, and she got in, to the prestigious economics faculty. Her brain, honed by her orphan's upbringing, cracked problems like nuts. She was assigned to a room with 2 girls, Lisette and Mila. They were butterflies flitting through life, for whom studying was an annoying distraction to fun. They laughed at her. "Corinne, you're like a nun in her cell. It's spring outside, and you're still wasting away over your books. Come with us, have some fun." "I can't, girls," she waved them off. "No one will help me if I fail my exams. My only hope is myself." "Well then, can we borrow your notes, friend?" Lisette would laugh, and they'd flit away, leaving a trail of perfume and carefree spirit. Corinne finished her exams early and with honours. Lisette and Mila barely avoided expulsion and harboured resentment. "Show off! Just look for a bookworm," Mila hissed. And they devised a cruel joke. Summer vacation emptied the dormitory. Corinne had nowhere to go. One day her roommates appeared on the doorstep, chattering excitedly. "Corinne, we're going to Lisette's cabin for a picnic. There will be older students, barbecue, a lake. Don't tell us you're going to study. It's vacation." She was surprised and touched. She desperately wanted simple human connection. And she agreed, anticipating sunshine, laughter, and good company. But the reality was a grotesque parody. Lisette's cabin was an arena for gatherings of the golden youth. Loud music pounded in her ears. The air was thick with alcohol and arrogance. Corinne felt like a foreign element. Lisette and Mila, chatting about brands and parties, subtly poured martinis into her juice. Her head swam, the world tilted. She tried to stand, but her legs turned to jelly. She collapsed onto the grass. An explosion of laughter deafened her. Lisette yelled, revelling in her triumph. "Look, everyone, our goody two-shoes got wasted. Pretended to be a lamb. Still waters run deep, as they say." Corinne struggled to her feet. A bitterness and humiliation choked her. From the whole laughing crowd, only one guy stepped toward her, extending a hand. Tears blurred her vision. She turned and walked away, into nowhere. Turning back, she threw at them. "I hope you all drop dead, friends." She stumbled along the dusty country road, not knowing where she was going. Her bruised knee burned. "Idiot!" she scolded herself. "What did you expect? That they'd accept you, an orphan, into their pack?" A car pulled up beside her. "Corinne, wait! Get in. I'll take you home. I'm Kyle from the senior class." It was the same guy who had tried to help her. She looked at him distrustfully, but in his eyes was so much sincere sympathy that she silently got into the car. "Don't pay attention to them," he said all the way home. "They're empty shells filled with their parents' money. You're real. I've heard how you study. I liked you right away." "I'm not your equal," she said bitterly. "An orphanage kid. I don't have a daddy who can fix everything." He gently put his hand on her shoulder. "You can trust me," and then lightly touched his lips to her cheek. The ground shifted beneath her feet. Her heart exploded in fireworks. Never, nothing like it. From that day on, Kyle lived in her thoughts. She was angry with herself. Get him out of your head. He pitied you and forgot about it. But when he found her in the dormitory and invited her on a date, all her protective barriers collapsed. It was her first date in her life. She panicked. What to say about what? He's so... and I am. But after half an hour, the anxiety subsided. Kyle turned out to be simple, without a trace of snobbery. And the way he looked at her, he called her my star, gave her delicate roses, and they kissed under the nightlights, unable to tear themselves away from each other. Their love blossomed despite everything. Haters whispered, what did he find in her? He'll get over it and dump her. Kyle's parents, influential business people, threw a fit. What are you doing, son? His mother cried. This pauper. We found you a bride, a politician's daughter. I love her, Kyle replied, and that's not up for discussion. Oh, really? His father thundered. Then live on your own. You won't get a penny. We'll see how quickly your love wilts without money. Kyle, without hesitation, packed his things and left his parents' mansion. They started living in her tiny room. It wasn't easy for him, accustomed to luxury. He got a job driving a cab, working tirelessly for his Corinne, and she gave him so much tenderness that he forgot about everything. They didn't notice the creaky floors or the old couch. They were happy. That fateful morning, she was waiting for him from his shift, having cooked his favourite pilaf. An hour passed, then another. Anxiety turned to panic. When the phone rang, her heart stopped. A cold, official voice informed her that Kyle had died in an accident. The world turned black. She collapsed to the floor. Everything after that was like a fog. The funeral, a bottomless abyss of grief. At the cemetery, Kyle's mother, seeing her, went into hysterics. "I curse you, you viper! You killed him! Get out of my sight!" Corinne didn't hear her. She just stood there, petrified with grief. She went to lectures like an automaton. And in the evenings, locked in her room, she howled, clutching his shirt, inhaling his familiar scent. It seemed to her that the door would open any moment and he would say, "Hi, my star. I'm home." But the door didn't open. She hardly ate. She started feeling nauseous in the mornings. 2 lines on the test confirmed the guess that took her breath away. She was pregnant. Happiness! I'll have a piece of him. And then a wave of horror. How will I cope alone? What will I live on? In desperation, she went to his parents. "I'm pregnant. You'll have a grandchild." She hoped for a miracle that this news would soften their hearts, but they threw her out, covering her with mud. "Get out of here, you tramp! Decided to profit from our grief? Force a stranger's child on us? You won't get a penny." She stumbled home, blinded by rage and tears. "You don't want a grandson? Then I don't need him either. I'll go to the hospital, solve all the problems." In the gynecologist's office, an elderly woman with tired eyes, she sat crumpled a referral. The doctor, an experienced psychologist, was already about to write out the paperwork, but looking at this tearful, hunted child, she suddenly softened. "Listen, dear," she said quietly. "If you do this now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. I know you're in trouble, but he's already alive. He feels everything. Difficulties pass, but this happiness is forever. Don't make a mistake you can't fix." Corinne burst into tears and ran out of the office. "What kind of mother am I?" she scolded herself. "I swore." That night she dreamed of Kyle. He sat on the edge of the bed, stroked her hair, and whispered, "My star, you're strong. You'll manage. I'm always there." She woke up with new determination. She took a leave of absence and got a job as a cleaner. The boss constantly criticised her. "Think just because you're pregnant you can slack off?" Corinne endured it, saving every penny. She had a goal, her baby, who was already kicking inside, reminding her of himself. And still, despite the need, she continued to buy coffee and pastries for the homeless in the subway. Today, she saw that guy on crutches again, and again she offered him a treat and put a bill in his cap. He, like the first time, flushed painfully. "Thank you." She had already turned away when she heard screams. Other homeless people had pounced on the guy, trying to take his money. 3 shaved-headed thugs jumped in and started kicking him. He curled up into a ball, trying to protect himself. Not remembering herself, Corinne rushed into the thick of it. She frantically swung her bag and screamed, "Stop it! You'll kill him! I'll call the police!" The bandits were taken aback, and then one of them growled, "What do you want, pregnant lady? Get out of here before you get hit yourself. He works for us now." "He's a slave," Corinne choked. "Like the cripple. Take him. Just buy him out first. You got 100 grand? They laughed, spat at her feet, and left. She helped the guy up. "Come on, I'll feed you." He looked at her with such tenderness that she got goosebumps, but he shook his head. "Thank you. I can't leave." She was offended and walked away. All evening, his gaze wouldn't leave her head. "Completely lost your mind, falling for a bum," she scolded herself. But the next day, her heart pounded in anticipation of meeting him. He was waiting for her, and silently handed her a small white rose. "I was waiting for you. This is for you." From that day on, they met every morning. They talked about nothing, but most importantly, he looked at her. That same look that only Kyle had given her. Corinne was angry with herself. "This is an illusion. I'm pregnant by another man, and he's a homeless cripple." But every day her legs carried her to the subway. These strange meetings went on for a week, and one day he wasn't there. Panic and an acute sense of loss overwhelmed her. Idiot, what did you expect? That he'd wait for you forever? The day passed in a grey gloom. Returning home, she suddenly saw at the intersection police twisting the arms of the same bandits from the subway and commanding the operation. Him! That same guy, only without crutches and tangled hair. A slender, short-haired lieutenant. But the eyes, those same bottomless blue ones. She stood with her mouth open, unable to move. He saw her and came over. Hi, sorry for the charade. I was undercover. My name is Arian. Are you mad? She could only gasp for air. I have to go, he said. Let's meet tomorrow at our subway. I'm inviting you on a date. Will you come? She nodded and flew home on wings, scolding herself all the way. What date? What about Kyle? This is madness. The next day, she came anyway. Arian was late, running up out of breath with a bouquet of wildflowers. Wes, sorry, the boss locked me in a meeting. This job always spoils everything for me. He honestly admitted that he was broke and suggested just walking in the park. They wandered along the alleys, and he told her about himself, about his wife, who left him for a rich man, about how, out of despair, he agreed to a risky operation. Corinne, gathering her courage, told him everything, about Kyle, about the pregnancy, about his parents, about her orphanage. Now you're not alone, he said quietly, taking her hand. Remember that. I'm not asking for anything. Let's just be friends. Let me be there and help. They became best friends. Arian turned into her guardian angel. He helped carry bags, massaged her swollen legs, subtly slipped money into her wallet and fruit into the refrigerator. She understood that her feelings for him were no longer friendship, but she drove those thoughts away, considering them a betrayal to Kyle. Arian, on the other hand, was driven mad by love and indecision, afraid to scare her away with the confession. One night, Corinne's water broke. She frantically called him. Arian, I think I'm going into labour. I'm scared. Don't panic, I'm coming, he said, businesslike. There were complications at the hospital. Emergency surgery, a large blood loss. They needed a donor. What's your blood type? The nurse asked Arian, mistaking him for her husband. B positive. Great, it matches. Are you ready to donate blood for your wife? Of course, he answered without hesitation. Corinne woke up in the ward. Where's my baby? She cried in panic. You have a boy, a strong one, the nurse calmed her. Your husband saved both your lives. He was the donor. Corinne was stunned. He saved her. So he really loved her. She held her newborn son close and whispered, Kyle, we have a son. I'll name him Leo. A wave of boundless, all-consuming happiness washed over her. A week later, Arian met them from the hospital. With flowers and balloons, the nurse handed him the envelope with the baby. Here, Dad, a strong one just like you. The first month was hell. Leo cried almost all the time. They didn't sleep at night, learned to be parents, supporting each other. 6 months flew by like a moment. Arian adored Leo, and Corinne couldn't imagine her life without him anymore. But they still couldn't bring themselves to confess their feelings to each other. Chance decided everything. One day, Arian returned from his shift and approached the playpen where Leo was gurgling. And who's this? The baby turned to him, reached out his hands and clearly said, Da! Arian was moved to tears. He picked up the baby and whispered, My son. That same evening, he got down on one knee in front of Corinne, with a box in his hand. Corinne, marry me. I can't just be a friend anymore. I love you and Leo. I know you loved Kyle, but he's not coming back. I think he would be happy that his family is protected. Say yes or no, right now. I can't take it anymore. Instead of an answer, she pulled him to her and kissed him deeply. It wasn't a kiss. It was a fire. That night, all doubts and torments burned to the ground in the fire of their passion. They got married. Arian's parents accepted Corinne and adored their grandson, but Arian couldn't shake one thought. Kyle's parents. He decided to talk to them in secret from his wife. He found their house. A tired, aging woman opened the door. The room smelled of medicine. A sick, broken man lay on the bed. "I'm Corinne's husband," Arian said. "You're that viper who killed our son." The woman replied viciously. Arian silently took a photo of Leo out of his pocket and handed it to her. "And this is your grandson. He's a spitting image of your son. We don't need anything from you. Just know that you have a continuation. If you want to see him, now is the time." A week later, there was a knock on their door. Kyle's parents stood on the threshold. "Hello, Corinne," the father began. "We were wrong. Forgive us. We want to see our grandson." The mother, without waiting for an answer, approached the playpen. Leo smiled at her with his toothless mouth. "Oh my God! A copy of Kyle! And the birthmark on his neck! The same!" "Forgive me, girl," she whispered, and tears streamed down her cheeks. That evening, they sat at the same table for the first time as a family. The grandfather proudly held his grandson on his lap, and he happily tugged at his ear. Corinne was absolutely happy. The stone that had been lying on her soul for so long had finally fallen away. Arian hugged her and thought that the black streak in life is not the end of the road, but just a sharp turn to a new, unexpected happiness. The main thing is not to break down and keep kindness in your heart, and then fate will surely reward you for everything. If you like the story, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It is very important to us.